My name's Rhys Harry. I'm the musical director and principal conductor of London Welsh Male Voice Choir. I joined them in 2010 after my predecessor stepped down. He did 30 years as their conductor, and the choir advertised nationally for somebody to take his place.
My name's John Downing. I got involved with the choir about 15 years ago. When I was coming towards the end of my career, the problem, I travelled a lot with the newspaper, and so I couldn't be responsible, and you have to make the rehearsals. It's very important.
I'm Mike Jarman, been in the choir for 13 years, and I'm billed as the copyright manager for the choir.
When I agreed to take on the role, it was understood that I'd be looking to change the way the choir was. They'd done really well. For 30 years they had kept going. They've got a consolidated repertoire of stock male voice choir items and kept them going really well. Their membership had stayed the same for perhaps the last decade of those 30 years, and one of the things that we talked in depth about when I took on the role was how to change that and how to see new blood and younger men coming through the doors.
The camaraderie is brilliant. We do a lot of travelling, singing big venues. Really, I wouldn't miss it for the world. The main thing is the friendship that you get through singing in a choir. And singing in a section. I sing in the top tenors, and your section is your team. There's no one in the choir I can't sit down and have a chat with, and it's really good, really good.
When I started with the choir, it was a choir of its age. We've spent 5 or 6 years looking at our vocal technique, changing the way that we produce our sound, and by having an influx of younger members, that obviously has influenced the type of sound that we do. And what has been wonderful is that the choir themselves recognise that their overall sound has changed from sounding, without meaning to be rude, sounding rather older than they needed to sounding much more contemporary as a result. And that sound has been an attraction to many of the new members.
I came from the Rhondda Valley, and my family was very involved with Welsh Male Voice. Always wanted to be in a choir. When I retired 12 years ago, I was able then to join the choir, and I knew some friends in the London Welsh, and so went up to a rehearsal, and the rest is history, really.
I think that my vision and the vision of the London Welsh Male Voice Choir kind of go hand in hand. We want to show the world that male voice music is not necessarily what it seems. I personally am a little bit fed up of everybody assuming that male voice music is somewhat hackneyed or old-fashioned. So what we want to do as a team, really, Male Voice Choir and I, is explore new types of repertoire, push the boundaries as much as we can, and really create not a concert for our concert goers, but an experience, so that when they come and they see what we do, they go away with a completely new vision and idea of what male voice choirs can do. So today we're in Sevenoaks School in Kent, and London Welsh Male Voice Choir are performing as part of the Sevenoaks Festival. We've had an extraordinary 5 or 6 years. The choir has developed an awful lot. We now have around 30 members under the age of 40, and there are constantly new younger men coming through the door. But we've had to work very hard at that. We've had to change our standards. We've had to accept that our repertoire needs to enlarge and needs to be more contemporary, and we've embraced that. There's a group of us who get together and we have a look at the balance of the programme. For us, it's quite important that as many genres of music as possible are represented on stage. So there's a group of us who look at the mix and the balance of pieces within the whole repertoire, because the whole repertoire for London Welsh Male Voice Choir is about 65, 70 pieces long. But we try and balance right through the genre. And so for us, yeah, really important. We've made ourselves much more obvious for the London Welsh community. We've taken on some higher profile events, appeared on television a lot more than previous, done radio performances, and were involved with the Olympic Games. But I think we started with just a couple of young men who had come into the London Welsh Centre for a pint and really were Welsh in London but not feeling that sense of Welsh community. So we just talked to them, made friends with them and invited them to come on a Thursday night, just to join us really. If we're going to move forward, if male voice choirs are going to move forward from here, we have to accept that our repertoire needs to broaden and we need to contemporise. We have to be prepared to commission new original pieces as well as contemporary arrangements. We have to be willing to invest in our conductors and accompanists to make sure that they're trained as highly as possible, and to seek out ways of doing that, and those ways are becoming ever more accessible. For example, there's a workshop in Cardiff in October, the first of its kind, a male voice choir workshop taking place. We're very excited at the Association of British Choral Directors who is hosting that event. And we need to embrace social media. If we don't become modern and accessible to younger people, then we may as well close our doors.
So yeah, we're making a promo video about getting the whole of the choir community together.
The problem with male voice choirs these days is that they're generally frequented by an older generation.
I know a lot of these choirs struggle with recruiting younger members.
For some time we've been trying to get new recruits, new choristers.
Those really well-established male voice choirs, there doesn't seem to be any new blood coming through.
It'll just bring all the choir community together. There's so much work going on to this, and any donations would be fantastic.
We got nothing to put on a clean white suit for. We got nothing to look masculine and cute for. There is nothing like a day